Hello everybody, my name is Jeremy, this is Red Beans Recording, and today we're looking at the Polyend Mess. Also, before I put my headphones on, I got a haircut. Do you like it? If I put my headphones on, it's harder to tell that I got a haircut. I like it. I think I look like Walker from Make Noise, except not as cool. Now you can't tell that I have a haircut, so what's the point? I reached out to Polyend to do a video on this because I was interested. I'm a huge fan of the Zoya from Empress, and I'm a huge fan of sequenceable effects. So things like Infiltrator and Shaper Box and DB Glitch and Arterium Motions. These are really, really cool things to have in your arsenal. In the box, they're rather common. Outside the box, they're not. So I reached out to Polyend and was like, can I do a video on the mess? And here it is. And so we're going to do a video on it today. What are we going to do? Well, first and foremost, I'm going to go through some of the presets that I made, and we're just going to listen to them dry and wet to listen to what the mess can do, at least what I've done with it so far. And then we'll make a couple patches. All right, that's it. Let's get into it. Here is our first loop. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in the pedal with the mix knob right here. Just give you a sense of what it sounds like dry, and here we go. So there's dry again. So you can hear that we're getting that little glitchy sound. We're getting some left and right movement. And the way the mess works is there are 4 effect slots, and each one has its own dedicated sequencer. So if you click an effect, you'll see what effect is in it, and you'll see that it is sequenced. And you also see that it's moving at a particular time. Some of these are going to move at different times because each independent sequence can have its own speed and length. So you can actually create polymetric and maybe even polyrhythmic effect sequences, which is really cool when you want to have maybe the effects evolve over time in terms of how they like interact with each other. So in this one, we have a micro looper. This is one of my favorite effects in here. Another micro looper. Each one of these steps is going to have its own like settings to it. And then a reverb, which is just going almost for the whole time. And then a ping pong delay, which I think sounds really great. I'm really excited about the mess from the perspective of adding texture and interest to like performances. I think that's going to be really, really cool. So to get back into the preset system, just make sure that none of your effect channels are selected, and then I can go here and it just automatically picks the effect. So mix down. This is dry. All right, we're bringing the pedal. That's so cool. All right, so what's going on here? The micro looper, again, I really love. And the cool thing about the micro looper, some of the settings for it, there's actually every single effect. So like the micro looper, the shaper, the reverb, we'll go through all those, but each one has like sub-effect categories in it. There's actually like a dizzying amount of like reverb and delay variations. In the micro looper, there's like 4 or 5 different ones, and some of them allow you to change the pitch. So I love pitch shifting loopers. So if I click on this, you'll see, or hold the step, you'll see that it says semitone 7, and then click on this one, semitones 12. Click. I'm pressing, I'm not clicking. So when it hits those, it's going to loop whatever's going on up 7 semitones, and it's going to do it at that speed right there, which can be variable, so you can do faster and smaller loops. A second looper afterwards is doing 7, 7, and 12, and you'll notice that this is polymetric in that it is only 10 steps, so that interaction with our loop is constantly changing. A filter. If I go into the second settings here, oh, I don't have the ability to change the mix of that. You can hear now that the filter is working on those loops underneath. And then finally we have a ping pong delay, which is give everything a little bit of like glitter on top. So tons of motion and texture to be had there. This next one is a stepped distortion effect. I wanted to make sure that you would get a sense of what this sounds like on drums too, because it sounds really cool on drums. So here's a simple loop. Let's bring in the effect. Yeah, it's so cool. All right, what's going on with this? Well, you can see what effects are involved. So we know we have a delay and 3 shapers. Let's go in here and take a look. So I put the delay on this first because I wanted to create events that could then be a step sequence with the different distortions. Our multi-tap delay is here. I could change this to 100% wet if I wanted to. And then we have multiple shapers. The shaper effects are distortion and redux and bit crushing. So I have these stepped shapers that are creating stepped distortion effects. I have another version of a pattern to go into here. We'll switch to in a second, and you'll hear this on tonal material, which might make more sense. But yeah, dry, wet. All right, let's go to the other pattern. So a little bit of drums, and we got that big ass chord. So just insane amount of like filling in of the space. And the great thing about this is you can just add a little bit and it makes a pattern come alive. I really like it. I think it's cool as hell. All right. 4 micro loopers. I just couldn't stay away from the micro loopers. By the way, all those patterns that we're listening to are done with the default sample packs from the Digitech 2, meaning the factory samples. And I gotta say, like, the factory samples on the Digitech 2 are excellent. I have my own beef with Electron, my personal beef with Electron, but goddamn do they make good devices. All right, here's a dry loop. Bring it in now. You could really hear those loops taking off now. You already know the deal. We've got 4 different micro loopers, each one with its own sequence length. And you get this wonderful texture. A lot of these presets that I made here were inspired by Dintel, the artist that did the music aspect of stuff and production for Postal Service. A lot of micro glitching and stuff like that. I think this would be great for Botanica music. I'm actually going to be using it for my next soft music to do nothing to. It's not as like organic and wild as my favorite microcosm patches are, but I can make it do exactly what I want, and I can create like very, very specific rhythmic events and effect events that just are going to be wonderful in a live performance setting. Really, like, I don't know if I would get this as a studio tool. I think, like a lot of hardware, it's much more geared towards, like, I need to do this live in some way or another. And I don't think there's anything else like this out there. Yeah, it's cool. I like it. Have I made that clear yet? I like it. I think it's neat. Okay. So here is a simple melodic sequence. let's bring that in. So, distortion, filtering. What we got going on? Shaper. Whole way. So this can just act as a 4-layer or dual layer. I think you can switch them to parallel. So you have like 2 effects processors going into each other as opposed to all 4 going into each other. Effect chain. And we're starting with some distortion, followed by a filter. This is a low-pass filter. Excuse me, it's a bandpass filter, my bad. And so each one of these is gonna have a different frequency. You'll see that the frequency changes when I hold down one of these. Another thing of distortion, and then a reverb. So again, motion, like super, super cool. I got into a little distortion kick. This one's called Resonorize. You might be able to guess that distortion's involved in this one. Very sparse pattern for this, and you'll hear why. We have a reverb right at the beginning of this pattern. Excuse me, of this chain. And that means that it's going to blow out our signal really long and make a lot of space, and then we're gonna do things to it. Panner, shaper, and it looks like delay. Oh, pitch shifter, down 24. Interesting. Okay, let's bring it in. Yes. Got that actual like rhythm in there as well. I believe that's from our pitch shifter. So this is going up 12 semitones, up 12 semitones, and down 24. So we're actually creating a rhythm with the pitch shifter, which is really neat. I just love how it like just freaks out and destroys itself now and then. God, we love distortion so much. Okay, what's this one? I don't remember. All right, we're using drums for it. Love that farty ass kick drum. It's me like every morning after my coffee. That's what my butt does. All right, we got it. Here we go. That's fucking wild. I don't even remember making this one. That's crazy. What's going on here? So distortion first. Granular burst with a pitch shift to it. Followed by sequenced chamber reverb with different decay times. That's interesting. Okay. And then the micro looper in the rev mode, speed 4 and speed 4, which I can't remember exactly what that is, but I think that's how we're getting that suck, that... That's cool. Try. Yeah. Yeah. You'll notice that we had a little bit of gain drop there. If I go into settings here, I can turn up the effect gain for every effect in the chain. So you can gain stage a lot throughout the whole thing, which is nice. Okay, delay fun. Mix down. So there's a little bit of reverb coming from the Digitact. Okay, let's bring it in. So cool. Okay, So what's going on here? Well, first, we have a panner that is set to sine wave and set to 1. I can't remember if that's a 16th note or not. And it's just panning our signal left and right. Then we have a single delay set at dotted eighth note. Then our micro looper. This is creating a little sequence again with different pitch shifters and pitch shifters. Pitch shifter sounds like something you'd say in jungle music. At different speeds and different semitones. So that's where we're getting kind of that extra sequence on top. And then finally a single delay to bring it all together and give it kind of like a little bit more motion on top. So a lot of the patches that I make on this thing so far have been about filling in space because I love taking a sparse sequence and turning it into something with a lot more motion. So yeah, it's super cool. Let's go. What's going on with this one? I think this is a lot of shapers. Looks like we have redux, which is like a decimation as far as I know. A ping pong delay, a formant filter, and another redux. Ooh, this should be interesting. Looks like I got a lot of sequencing too. The only one that's not sequenced is our ping pong delay. All right, let's bring in the mix. Yes, so cool. Dry, wet. So those stepped redux sample rate reducers are giving us all kinds of really, really interesting motion on our long signals. And we're getting just a whole nother sequence on top of our sequence. That's the nice thing about sequenceable effects is that they can just live on top of what's going on and make a whole new thing. Super cool. Okay, I've got one more for you, and then we'll make a patch or two. All right, this one called Serious Sad, and I don't remember why I call this. I know it has its own sequence built in, and I know that makes no sense because we've been doing sequences. But what I mean is, on the micro looper here at the end, you'll see the sequence speed is set to 1/8. And while we listen to the dry, see how slow this goes, because this sequence is going at a very slow speed. I don't even think that's the slowest you can go, which means you can do an 8-bar sequence. That's essentially what we have here. You'll notice it matches the sequence over here. So with an 8-bar sequence, you can really start to imply musical phrases, which is really, really interesting. And that's exactly what happens with this. So assuming we have this in our head, I'll bring in the wet mix. Extra pitch now that is being sequenced by our micro looper. So you can use this to create a whole new musical pattern with your music. And being able to bring musical progression in and out of your patch, pretty damn cool. All right, well, that's all the presets that I made. Let's make a patch just so you can see what that feels like. Well, that's just beautiful. This comes from a sample set of Botanica samples from, it just says Bespoke Floral. If you look on Gumroad, you'll find Bespoke Floral Botanica samples, if you like this. I think it's great. Okay, let's go to presets. So we do that by making sure that we don't have any of our effects selected, and we can just turn the preset knob. So it goes down to here. Okay. So the way this works is I have to pick an effect slot, and then I will turn the settings knob to pick an effect. So let's just take a look at what we have here. We have multiple types of panning. So 3 types of panning. Each one of these effects has 2 pages of settings, but you get by clicking this settings button like that. So if I hold this down, mix in, settings, we can hear some panning. Isn't that wonderful? Drift, synced, we don't really need to hear more panning. Saturation, which isn't really much. Overdrive. Now we can hear some distortion and a tone for that, which is great. Diode clipper for acid if you want. I think that would be, or is it transistors for transistor clipping for acid sounds? I don't know. Either way, it sounds good. Asymmetric clipping, wave shaper. Wave shaper is kind of crazy. Yeah. Really nice to have all these different distortion algorithms because distortion is a huge thing for me. Fuzz, okay. Exciter, bit crush, rectifier, and redux. How about some redux? Yeah, that's going to sound good on this. So what we'll do is I'll go back to settings. I'll make their sequence length 16. And now I'm going to sequence some redux. Now, what we can do with this, now that we have these in here, is, I mean, all kinds of things. I can come in here, change the amount. And I can change the chance that these will happen. So I will change some of these to like 50% chance, just because we can. Now we have a nice little rhythm, but if I wanted to make this polymetric, I could turn the sequence length down 1. And now that's always going to be rolling off our 4/4 beat, which is kind of neat. Then we have a full-on mix, so I can make this 100% wet if I want to, but we'll leave this around here, and I will leave this around 16 for right now. Filters! We have high pass, low pass, band pass, low shelf, high shelf, and formant. So some of these are good for mixing, some of these are good for effects. I will say the one thing I'm not stoked on is the inability to use sort of like LFOs or smoothing between steps. That's like the one thing I wish we had, mostly for the filters. I'd love to be able to do smooth filter motion throughout these things, but you can't. And maybe we'll get that. I'm not 100% sure. For instance, on the filter, you know, I don't know if that fills in there. We got an extra spot right here. If there was like a smoothing control, like so if you just put smoothing here, and you could choose how smooth the steps were next to each other, that would be really, really huge, because then you could create cool, smooth washes of filter. As it is, it's all going to be stepped. Pitch shifters! So I can take this up to like 7. To 7 semitones, sounds great. Now I could sequence this. I could do like 4, 7, 4, 12, and then 4, 12. Ooh, that was cool. And then maybe this one we go up 5. Oh, that's cool. I'm going to change this shaper here to something else. Let's do a reverb. That's pretty nice. So the egg, there's a preset called the egg. Oh, that's great. That's cool. I like that. So you could also make these not the full step. So now you get a little bit more rhythm to the whole thing. What happens if we add some drums to this? That's a lot of fun. I know we didn't get to like make a bunch of patches. Maybe we'll do that in a follow-up video. I really wanted to give you a sense of wet-dry with this thing. Like, what does it sound like before what the pedal does? What does it sound like after? Yeah, I just gravitate towards these sort of micro-looping patches quite a bit, but I think having access to a bunch of different types of distortion and reverbs and stuff like that is going to be cool as hell. I still love my Zoya. I love you, Zoya. But this thing is unique, and I'm happy that I got a chance to try it. So thank you, Polyend, for sending me one to do a video on. Hope you all are well. If you would like to see anything done with this pedal in a follow-up video, please let me know. Leave a question or comment, join the Patreon and ask me in my Discord, or just hit me up on Blue Sky. There's links in the video description. That's it. My name is Jeremy. This is Red Means Recording, and I hope you have a wonderful day.